you are addressing these topics, you need to be very sensitive about how you present it to the young adults, because they will be more knowledgeable than you think. Like what Anirban was saying, that they are not kids, they have a lot of knowledge and they have a lot of opinion. And if you write anything which is not exactly what should be, they have an effect on their peers as well. So the opinion kind of floats in among their peer groups. So that's a challenge, it's a pitfall, but still you have to take the liberty of your own creativity to write for them. That's it, what I think.
And you can't preach, means you cannot write from a position of superiority where you are writing about what a young adult should do. You have to pretend that you are the young adult and you are in that situation and you are young.
Exactly, because when I was writing, when I wrote Ringo and the Yogi, there were certain points where I had given out some stories which this yogi guy tells to the boy while they are becoming friends. So one of the comments that I got from a schoolgirl, she's from Jammu, she just said that I had been listening to these stories from the time I was in class 1. So why are you saying it again to me? So I said, that's a good learning because it's my first book. I'll never do it again in my life. But thank you for the feedback. So yeah, that is very true.
It's like the stories which we hear from our grandparents and all, no, saying, "मुझे स्कूल जाने के लिए 26 किलोमीटर पैदल जाना पड़ता था."
Or like in Bengali, you have this Thakumar Jhuli kind of thing where you kind of listen to a lot of stories.
Okay, so Moulshri, what is the relevance or importance of young adult fiction in current times?
See, I believe that growing years or the pre-teens and teens are not just the most exciting times of your life, but they're also one of the most confusing. A child is trying to find himself and his place in the society. And we as young adult authors, we have to write something that they can relate to. So relatable of literature, relatable stories, characters, for example, bringing out issues that a child doesn't want to straight away read in an adult book. For example, domestic violence, sexual abuse, okay, so and bullying. Bullying is so common in the schools these days. And things like, gender confusion. These are relevant issues. These are real issues. And when they are written in young adult books, they become acceptable to the child. There's a certain element of empathy when we are imbibing these issues in our stories. And hence, it is very important that whereas the book has to be entertaining and gripping and of course exciting, but then if we touch upon these subjects as well, that is how we create literature which actually becomes a stepping stone for the child from being a child to a young adult and then finally an adult. For example, in my first book, The Mystery of the Missing Buddha, the case that the girls are solving are, there's talk of drugs, there's talk of, stolen idols and a few other issues. They have to be woven along with the story to make them seem very acceptable, because they have to be acceptable for a child who is now stepping into adulthood. And that is how young adult fiction is relevant today, important today, so that the child or a young adult feels okay talking about these things, feels that these are normal issues and these are not some hawa kind of a thing that they can't talk about or discuss amongst themselves. And that is how I feel that it is extremely relevant and important today.
You can't sweep them under the carpet.
Yeah, but I love the term hawa.
And can you imagine, in our country, children are expected to decide how they want to spend the rest of their life, even before they're old enough to vote, old enough to drink, but you expect them to decide what career they want to choose, how they want to spend their lives. And that is something that needs to be addressed. No?
Yes, and I feel they have a lot of information at hand. They have a lot of information that is getting to them without getting by their parents. So what is the access to information that they have? Would you be able to track what your child is doing 24 hours a day? It's not possible. So it is better to address issues that are real in a very real way, in relevant way as such. And then, be open about talking to them. That is extremely important. That's what I feel.
True.
Okay. Can you tell us about your new book?
My second book is The Mystery of the Haunted Fort. It is, like I said, part of the Singh Sisters series. The first book was set in Dharamshala, and the second book is set in Rajasthan. The girls again get into trouble. I always say that I find myself in these two girls because I keep on getting into trouble because I am quite inquisitive, and they get in trouble in Rajasthan, and because Rajasthan and ghost stories, haunted forts, they go hand in hand. So it was just a lot of masala just sitting there to be explored, and that's exactly what I've done. What I do in my book specifically is that I try and write a lot about the city that I set my story in. I have studied in Dharamshala. I've lived in Dharamshala. So the first book has a lot of elements of the city which are very real. I studied in Jaipur. So there are a lot of elements that are very real and close to my heart. I talk about the culture. I talk about the city. I talk about the food in great detail.
Kachoris.
Kachoris. I talk about not just pyaz kachoris. I talk about Raj kachoris as well. I think it makes the book interesting and takes away from the, page by page, you cannot have a mystery. You cannot have suspense on every page. How exhausting would it be for the young mind to find a new information, blah, 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 like, in every page. It becomes difficult for a young mind to, comprehend that. That is where the food comes in. It's kind of a respite for the child to talk about these lighter issues. And that is the second book is based in Rajasthan. I love Rajasthan. I've described it in great detail. And of course, I don't want to give away the story because you have to read it.
Okay, sure.
Just
And,
following up Apeksha's thing about children and kids having to grow up so fast. I think parents, many of us are parents, and we've been given this, like trickle down theory of where we tell the kids, settle down. That Indian word of settle down is so scary.
It should be banned. It should be banned.
It should be banned. What do you mean by settle down? As if like my life is in a mess. Now you have to settle down. And what do we mean by settle down? Means college degree.
Stop having fun. Stop having fun.
Yeah, stop having fun. College degree. Get a job. Get married. Have children. Die. That is settle down. That is settle down. Whereas in the West, the one thing which I really like is the fact that they're allowed to take gap years and they're allowed to go and see and travel the world. I mean, travel is one of the greatest teachers, in the world. When you travel, you get to see, you get to learn. This settle down thing has to be banned. Yeah.
True. It's like getting burdened with worries and you feel heavy.
And the poor kid is thinking, I have to settle down.
Before he or she gets to explore what they want to do, they are tied into something and said, okay, next 5 years, 6 years of your life, you have to study this, and then the rest of your life, you have to go here.
Class 10, class 12, BA, MA, job.
Exactly. There are certain stereotypes like this has to be done in your life. So this is the job also which you have, the job basket from where you choose and you become one of it. You cannot, explore your...
The eggs in the basket is a great analogy. Mama? Who's Mama's calling?
Yeah, that's my...
Show.
Please excuse the little...
No. Show.
This.
Hey.
Hello.
Say hi. Okay, now say bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. That was good. Huh?
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, you asked for this.
Okay, the other one. Okay.
Bye.
Hi.
Hello.
Bye.
Okay. So the twins are taken care of. There are your So if there's a movie adaptation, you've got the cast ready. Molishri.
Yeah.
The twins.
When you said twins, I was like, this is what is going to happen with mine.
Yeah.
Getting into trouble.
Sorry. We are going all over the place except for the session.
Yeah.
All
So,
right,
Prasoon,
Nitin.
tell us what inspired you to write your book. Ringo and the Yogi, what gave you these ideas? I mean, obviously, it's a...
See, writing started for me, like I used to write short stories casually when in school. First urge kind of came, it was kind of self-exploratory, autobiographical, but it was a very bad thing that I wrote. So I dropped the idea. And then when my son was actually born in the year 2013, and I used to look at him, he was in his cradle at that time. So I used to imagine how he might turn out to be when he grows up. So from there, I got an idea of creating a character like Ringo, and I put him into the setting of the Uttarakhand floods that happened during that time, uh, the cloudburst and everything, and the concept of a yogi who will be a perpetual friend. So together it formed a storyline, and I came up with this book. Uh, and then the journey continued with the help of Suhail. It got published, and here I am. So that's it pretty much.
Cool. Apeksha, can you tell us about the heroine of your book, Samira Joshi, and about this secret sisterhood of spiders?
Okay, so Samira Joshi is a girl who has only one dream in life. She wants to be a spy. And why not? Because it runs in the Joshi genes. It starts with her great grandmother, who in Ratnagiri was known for being super nosy and super sneaky, and she knew what was happening in the whole village. Her grandmother was a toast of the Hindu colony Bhajan Mandal, because she was like an Indian Miss Marple. She could track down errant servants, errant husbands, everything. And Samira's parents are elite spies. They work for RAW. And they have trained her to be a spy since she was a child. But suddenly now they have changed their tune, and they say our daughter is going to be a doctor. And she is like, over my dead body, I will not be a doctor. I will be a spy. Even if I have to turn in blank answer sheets at the entrance exams, I will still be a spy. So this is a story of how she wants to be a spy, and she finds that when she tracks down someone, she finds that there is already a group of teenagers in Mumbai who are spies, and she wants to join them. But for some reason, she's so the story is about whether she will get to join them and her journey with the spiders.
Cool. And Anirban, about your book, I mean, way back then, what were you thinking when you were writing it? Like, did you think of making it into a book, or at that point of time, or you just wrote for the fun of it? What was it?
No, when that was when I was in class 6, I wrote the book. I mean, I've always wanted to be an author, in the sense that I was a very sensitive and shy child. I was a fat kid who was absolutely zero in sports. I used to get bullied in school. I was known as the typical padhaku ladka, likes education, debates, reading books. Like, you give me a book, I would go off into the corner and read. And I was in a boarding school in Kalampong at the foothills of the Kanchenjunga. I couldn't have asked for a better environment. So I wrote that book across many weekends on an exercise book, and I had a dream that one day I will get published, and then I forgot about it, and then suddenly 30 odd years later, here I am. So what I put out into the universe 30 odd years ago as a seed, and then I forgot, and then it became a reality, and then I suddenly realized, I was like, what happened? So yeah, so the book is a great ride. It's about kids solving a mystery. It's slightly adult in its nature, that I didn't shy away from the crime angle, because having produced over 1,000 episodes of Savdhan India and written the show and all of that, I couldn't make it a soft crime book, in the sense कि वो kidnap हो गया, उसके बाद, if you see in most of the kids' books, once the kid is kidnapped, they never cut to the kidnapped victim, because they know it's going to be dark. Yeah. Right? It's always
the traumas mentioned.
Yeah, it's always the investigation and the investigators that are followed. But in my book, I deliberately cut back to the trauma that the kid is facing being kidnapped, because those things. Now the kids are big enough to handle such things. For Christ's sake, they're playing PUBG on mobile, which is one of the,
exactly.
As Prasun was saying, the kids of today are far advanced than how we were. We were like, Uri Baba ki hoi jabe. Hey, like the Bengali thing. Hey, khane jeo na. Don't go there. Sweater put in.
We could actually go, and our parents wouldn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
Frankly, kids. Yeah, parents don't know what kids are up to. So.
Yeah, man.
I agree with this point on trauma. right? Like the several issues that I was talking about earlier. Trauma is very real. Trauma is not something only the adults face. And I think even in my book, I have used trauma as an angle. And I think it's a very real and a very honest thing to do as a writer.
So, does bullying feature in your books? I think it must be featuring in Anirban's book because you spoke of bullying.
Who was that question for, Nitin?
Any of you? Like, okay, Anirban, you spoke of bullying. So
Yeah,
your
yeah.
book. Okay.
Yes, I think bullying is a part and parcel of growing up, which shouldn't be. Unfortunately, there are kids who don't know any better and become bullies also because of the life that they see in the house. Their parents probably are strict and control freaks, and which is the way of bringing up. Bullying is something that kids face even now, and writing about it, and if there are bullied victims as characters in books, I think it helps to empower the victims and sort of make them understand that they are not alone, and how can they avoid facing bullies, or what should they do when they are faced with a similar situation. Because if you're a victim of a bullying incident, you cannot go and tell your parents. Often the kids think, because then they'll be labeled as a snitch, or worse will follow. So it's a very sensitive.
And at some point, you feel you deserve it. That is why.
Yeah. I mean, because like I used to justify it saying, oh, maybe because I'm so shy, and maybe because I'm such a quiet kid, maybe I'm not as cool as the sporting kids, maybe I deserve it. Which is wrong.
And you know what, Anirban, if we are writing about these things like bullying and all these incidents in the book, a young adult book is not just read by a young adult, it's read by the adults also. And once a person who has himself been bullied, he reads about it, he'll be more open to talk about it with his children. And that would perhaps open a dialogue between them, which was perhaps not there earlier. So that's very important in that manner.
Yeah, like how many of us have read Harry Potter when we were already adults? Put your hands up.
Yeah, it's released when we were adults.
Yeah, when we were adults.
Yeah, when we were adults.
Yeah. Or Artemis Fowl, or all of that, or
absolutely.
Percy Jackson.
After I was pregnant when I was reading Percy Jackson.
Right.
So I think.
You want to take some
questions
from the audience?
Questions?
Any audience questions? Let's see what. So anybody on Facebook, would you like to ask any questions? This is the right time.
I think Deblina had a question during the earlier session which was interrupted when she wanted book recommendations for 13 to 16-year-olds who are tired of the spy novels, the traditional books for. So I would like to suggest Life of Pi and the whole Lord of the Rings series, all of them, and Neil Gaiman, Coraline and the Graveyard Book. Neil Gaiman is something that 13 to 16-year-olds would really enjoy, and they should read. Anything you guys would like to add?
I want to add 2 more books to this list, Piksha. These 2 books are by Ranjit Lal. One is The Faces in the Water, which talks about female, feticide, and in a very nice and sensitive and essential issue, but a young adult fiction book. Then another one is Our Nana Was a Nutcase, which touches upon the subject of Alzheimer's. So I believe, although these 2 books are under the category of young adult, I also believe that they are very important to be read by kids of this age.
I would say they can try out reading short stories by Ruskin Bond. I myself read it during that time. The simplicity of language and the way he tackles relationships, it's excellent.
It's beautiful. Yes.
Kids should read it of that age.
I mean, Ruskin Bond is the BAP of young adult writing. I mean, he is such a dude.
He's the BAP of writing in general.
Yeah, he's a dude.
In 2 pages, he writes a short story which leaves an impact on you for 3 days. So it's kind of really. So
Yeah,
it's
about Rusty and his
absolutely-
adventures. Yeah. And then probably maybe a few classics as well, like A
classics.
Catcher in the Rye. Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's a
Yeah,
lot of
Yeah,
supplies.
Catcher in the Rye.
I mean, a lot of supplies, and A Catcher in the Rye is good.
You know, so
And
thing is,
Tiny and Zola.
as 13 to 16-year-olds, I think it's a compulsory lesson to read all the classics. You know,
Yes.
because it sets a good foundation for stuff to read later on. I mean, you start off with all the David Copperfields of the world and read the unabridged versions. You know, like Great Expectations, I can still read it and I can still feel angry at Miss Havisham, you know, and absolutely, you know, feel empathy for Pip. You know, I mean, those are classics. I mean, I get goosebumps when I talk about such books.
the relationship between Pip and Joe.
Yeah. So those books have to be read.
Little Women. Little Women.
Little Women.
They might not seem very relevant today, but
Yeah.
they really, and kids who read these books will definitely fall in love with books. And they will,
Right,
you know.
I think we'll have to wind up. Yeah, getting a call from Suhail, in fact. So,
Oh, you're getting call from
yeah.
Sri Lanka.
So, like, yeah, it was great
See,
speaking
that
to
means
all of you.
the session is going so well that we have
Yeah.
forgotten that we are live and we are just talking amongst ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you,
to Suhail.
Nitin. Thank
Yeah, thanks to Suhail. Thanks to the bookmakers. Thanks to
you,
Nidhi.
Suhail
Thanks to
and the
all of you
bookmakers.
panelists.
Thank you, everyone.
I just want
So
to
soon,
say, I
And
think the next session, if you're hanging on there, the online bookmakers literature festival, the next session is called Human Emotions: How Human Dramas are ushering in a new era. The panelists are Roma Datta, Sabita Radhakrishna, Poonam Chawla, Rupangi Sharma. Moderator is Rohit Kumar. You don't want to miss this one because it's about drama. Okay, all right. Signing off, guys. Thank you, everybody. Love you all.
thanks to everybody on Facebook
Bye.
watching us.
Thank you so much.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you all.
Bye.
Be safe. Wash
Thanks,
hands.
everyone. Thanks for
Maintain
watching.
social
Read.
distancing and read.
And read.
And read.
Read.
All our books are available on Kindle, on Amazon. Please get it and read and be happy. Mwah. Bye. Love you all.
Bye.